thank you for joining us. I'm Koji. I'm here with Sanjay from Indix, and they're our featured company today on Started in Seattle. Thanks for joining me again. This is round two because the first time I did it, the audio didn't work. So we're going to try this again.
All right.
So thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Welcome.
Tell us a little bit about Indix and what you guys do.
Yeah, so at Indix we are looking to organize, analyze, and visualize all of the product-related information on the internet. So think about it as pivoting the internet to look at it from the perspective of products of all kinds. So that's what we do. And our first product really is a product intelligence platform that brands and retailers can use to get a better perspective of what's going on in the world.
Okay, excellent. Now tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here with Indix.
Yeah, so this is after 19 years at Microsoft, where I started a lot of businesses and new divisions, and I love creating new businesses. I think of myself as an engineer, an artist, and a business guy. And so after 19 years, I retired, decided to do something on my own, and this is the result. So we're really about two years old.
Okay. How long of that was development phase? Like, did you start right off 2 years ago, or did you think about it and work on a little bit in your retirement?
Right. Yeah. So it took about a year of just working alone, working on the idea, refining the idea, talking to lots of people, traveling. But we started writing code in January of 2012. Okay. So it's a little less than a year. We released our version 1 a few weeks ago. So it took us a little while to get.
Okay. And who's we when you say
we're about 40 people right now.
Okay.
So that's the size of the company.
Wow. Okay. I'm noticing your space is much smaller here. Is there a lot of remote work?
Actually, there is. Our engineering is in India, and I moved back to the U.S. about a little over a year ago, and we're starting to build up the team here. We're 7 people now.
Okay.
Growing pretty fast.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so was Indix started here?
It was started so after I retired, I moved the family back to India. Wanted to give the kids a little view of what was going on outside of the U.S.
Right.
So spent 3 years there, and then moved back a year.
Okay.
A little over a year ago.
And can you touch on that actually? Because that's an interesting thing that a lot of people ask about, sort of remote teams, and so it sounds like you have most people, the majority of your company is actually.
Majority right now, yes, but we're hoping that the majority is here fairly soon.
Are you trying to move them here, or are you looking to hire and expand here?
We'll expand.
Okay.
Expand here. 40 people in a little less than 2 years is pretty.
Okay. Has it been hard to manage that?
No, we've got some pretty experienced people there.
Okay.
Lots of the senior folks have started companies, multiple companies, and exited them in the past. We've had a couple of CEOs of their own companies, join us there. So it's a reasonably mature team.
Okay. And then, so are you pretty laissez-faire and kind of let them, tell them, hey, we need this, and do that? Or do you have management tools in place? How do you keep track of?
It's a lot of communication.
Yeah.
And a lot of trust.
Okay.
In the early stages, my job was to hire the right people to get the money, and I also designed the first few versions of the product along with our design engineering team. But really now, all of that work in hiring the right folks hopefully pays off. But it's a lot of back and forth on instant messaging, on email, on phone calls, and that's how we stay in sync.
Okay. How do you know you're finding the right people or hiring the right people? Maybe going back to your Microsoft days or here with Indix, I think that's something a lot of sort of early founders have a problem with, is finding the right people.
Yeah, so we look at, I look at 4 things. One is, the first gate that you've got to test is whether people think it's the right opportunity for them. Opportunity as in, is the idea the right thing? That, does it motivate them? Does it resonate with them? And if you don't pass that gate, it's really not worth
so
moving forward.
Does the job fit them?
Right, the mission. Does the mission resonate with them? If the mission resonates, then is there chemistry? Because chemistry is essential to trust, right? The third is the role. Will they enjoy what we have to do in a startup? the role changes a reasonable amount, but the role they come in for, is that the right fit for them? And finally, it's the financial equation. But it's at the end, right? If the mission doesn't resonate, if there isn't chemistry, it makes no sense. And if you look at it that way, then it weeds out a lot of the folks very early on.
I mean, do you figure this out just by interviews, or do you know these people personally for a long time and kind of
It's really through an interview process, because it's not just chemistry with me, it's chemistry with the team. Right. It's not just the mission statement as it applies to me, it's everybody's understanding of the mission statement. And the more conversations they have, the clearer it is for them.
You bring them in, I guess, for a series of
absolutely.
interviews with the team. Do they do any work for you? Do you put them on a contract basis? Or?
Very rarely, but
okay.
it takes a couple 3 weeks to actually go through the process.
Okay. Interesting. Awesome. Can you tell me about going from Microsoft to the startup world and how you dealt with that?
Right. It wasn't too hard because I mean my role at Microsoft, my life at Microsoft was really about starting new businesses, starting new divisions. So I think I've been involved with 5, maybe 6 new divisions in all, and so it's kind of what I enjoy, kind of what I do. This just happens to be without a safety net.
Good times. All right. And you also mentioned last time we talked, I thought it was really interesting. You said now is a really good time to start a startup. Can you kind of elaborate on that? Why do you think now is the time if people have been planning on thinking about it?
I think the next 7-10 years is the golden years of technology startups. I think people have realized that they need to not just start a company with technology, but also with a business model. They need to make money, and I think
revenue is everything,
and profit.
Yeah.
I mean, even. So I think people are being more sensible, and as a result, I think you're going to start to get very interesting new businesses, not just technologies. I think with the recession behind us, I think you're starting to see a lot more sensible businesses that are funded appropriately with the right teams, and that's why I think it's going to be a golden age.
Okay.
Generally between 5 and 10 years is when these businesses that were started during the recession are going to mature. So the next 5 years, the next 7 years, I think you're going to see a lot of these companies, these businesses come to fruition. Maybe do IPOs, do exits, and that's why I think it's going to be a golden age.
Okay, so definitely take sort of the solid business approach. You're not looking to catch a wave, right? You're looking to build a good team with a good product. Are there any certain spaces you think, like obviously Indix is in a very interesting space because there's a lot of growth in this.
My bias is to build technologies and products that apply to both businesses and consumers.
Okay.
If you're just building it for consumers, then there's a certain approach. Users are the priority. But if you're targeted towards businesses, then you also think about revenue. So having both of them together kind of gets a nice balanced view in place. And so that's my bias.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Can you tell me a little bit about what you like being a startup in Seattle? What's great about this community, and where's the wisdom for all the other?
I love the Seattle community. I mean, we're in a space that that is part of Cumulo. Cumulo is a stealth startup, my favorite startup in Seattle. But it's kind of prototypical of the startup scene in Seattle. There's a lot of sharing. There's a lot of openness to other startups, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There isn't as much kind of cutthroat competition as you might find in the Valley. So it's a little bit more laid back, a little bit more friendly, a little bit more supportive. I love that.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Any other words of wisdom for?
I think I've exhausted the wisdom.
All right. Well, that sounds good then. Thank you very much, Sanjay, for taking the time to speak to us at Started in Seattle. And this is Indix.
Thank you.